I will be discussing identities, the multiple identities in the Orthodox world, apart from Greek and English, or other words, French being one of those languages that are used in our world. I will be dealing with canonical tradition and legalistic spirit, from the ethos of freedom to the morality of fear and the law. Freedom as opposed to the law and the fear. I would like, first of all, to congratulate the organizers of this event for at least two reasons. One being that the canonical law, just as pathology, represent a very difficult aspect of today's Orthodox literature and theology. The need for the study of the sources implies special competencies, skills, and knowledge within the context of the inter-Christian debate. This is a need that not always is perceived as it should. There's always the temptation towards an supersimplification for those who perceive canonical law as a set of laws or paterology as a simple enumeration of biographies, something of a caricature composition made by the fathers. Here there's a deficit in modern dealing with this issue, which definitely undermines the effort of guidance, which is what we expect from theology ultimately. Many times the messages coming from the pulpit are not actual enough, not as modern as the church would have liked them to be. As of late, we know that there is the Pan-Orthodox Council in preparation, with many aspects, theological and social, to be discussed. In view of this perspective, we need to clarify the terms under which we will be discussing, so as to avoid any confusions or misunderstandings as to canonicity, the obligatory character. What is this obligatory character about? What is the local and the ecumenical have to do with the whole debate, and how they too juxtapose. The success ultimately of the Pan-Orthodox Council will be conditioned by the appropriateness in preparation. Will this be an open event? Will this be possible for the clerics and the laymen to be equally participate? All will depend on our possibilities to truly see the values of Orthodoxy in the spirit of the times. And I believe that, if anything, our presence here does pave the way towards the Pan-Orthodox Council. And really what we should expect from this is not just solutions, but also some proposals towards solutions. Let me comment a series of aspects of the way the evangelical tradition is dealing with certain issues. I do this because I see that the canonic law risks to focus more on fear and law than on love and tolerance. I will start with something trivial. Christianity. Christianism is the religion of love. Oh, we all know that. It is a religion that is expressed directly through love. In the Trinity perspective, love may only be expressed through freedom. We distinguish the persons, and at the same time we deal with them as a mutual community. This is the mathematics of the evangelical, which is 3 + 1 and 1 = 3, which is something that would otherwise be unfathomable without an act of freedom to sustain it. The Holy Trinity is the relationship between the Creator and the creation in an ongoing synergy. But the evangelical freedom also is about the interpersonal relationships and a liberation of intentions and the wills within the context of the reflections developed as of the first years of Christianity. The access to the kingdom of the Lord is not conditioned by race, gender, or social position, as Apostle Paul has said. Jesus Christ simplified, anthropologically speaking, an equation of major importance, which is why the Christian is essentially free, because the Christian loves, and loves because he benefits from this freedom. And this is the reason why the loss of freedom leads to a loss of love, and conversely, the lesser the love, the greater the deficit in freedom. Second, the canonic tradition within this context derives from the liberating love, and this may be perceived like something more than a simple set of disciplinary rules and restrictions. The order isn't there to censor freedom or crush it. It is there in order to correct, to remedy any deficits in love or in deficits in freedom. The canonic law, more specifically, I repeat, that is not a set of interdictions. Rather, it is the experience of the Church on the path that goes parallel to the evolution of humankind, the humankind that is battling with their own imperfections. The canonic theology preaches not a divine right, nor does it preach the canonicity or non-canonicity. This may not be utilized as argument in favor of an authority or a power. The debate around canons is not something that may take place outside the Church. The canonologist is not something external to the Church, like an inspector would have been that would assess the community of faith. This canonist is the explanator of the canons in the spirit of Christ, and he is also playing a therapeutic role, coming up with solutions, helping us to overcome problems in the light of the Holy Gospel. A third assumption, the degradation of the legalistic approach results in a loss of love and undermines the Church. The corrosive effect consisting in that we do not have the necessary cohesion. Hence, an idealized picture of the internal structure and function of the Church. We fail to grasp the changes that happen in the meantime, an overvaluing of the past, the excessive adherence to what has already happened, without really understanding what happened, undermines the validity of the canon law, reducing it to a dead letter that is not anymore characterized by love or freedom. Therefore, we're faced with something obsolete that has nothing whatsoever to do with what is happening today. It is as if we're cancelling the prophetic function of the order, which is what leads from today's reality to the out yonder, the eschatological. Rather than interpreting today through the eschatological, we limit ourselves to a Procrustean solution, a kind of legalism that would be the ultimate recourse for those failing ultimately to understand what they have to do. They are insensitive to the feeling of life. They are those who mean to cling on the letter like the castaway is clinging on a log out in the sea. This is a loss of principles and reality. It is a dead letter and a suppressed reality. Another assumption now. The moralistic view of fear and law is a caricature of law and love. As I already said, such approach does not allow us to grasp what the challenges of today are, and does not allow us to critically read history. Many dogmaticians of our Church unfortunately adopt this approach, formalism and maximalism that kills whatever alive in our community of faith, which is highly schizophrenic in the end. Thus, we are led to a constant rupture with the Holy Gospel and the life in Church, and over the last few centuries, this has led us to a distancing, a discrepancy between the canonic law and the law, the civil law of our states. Hence the need to go back to the notion of the beginning and the authority and freedom. Here, the tool of freedom, of economy, is an excellent tool for us to solve many problems. Nevertheless, economy doesn't mean an incessant series of concession of exceptions, nor can we always live with divergences. Hence, the need for a creative approach beyond any relativism if we are to understand ourselves. Fifth and last assumption, if I may say some things about the Pan-Orthodox Council that is being prepared, it is more than obvious under the circumstances that a long preparation reflects a historic reality. Even the divergences, whether apparent or not, at the canonic level. We are witnessing now an inter-Orthodox antagonism, sometimes even nationalism, that also cancels the ecumenical character of Orthodoxy in the modern context. In certain cases, it even undermines the local, the national, the special, which should normally be something that the Church is enriched by. This would be a way leading to a more humane living. We should be accommodating all different languages, music, architecture, even mentalities. We should not be witnesses of a derailment where the specific, the partial, will overwhelm the ecumenical of the Church. I believe that we are all on the same page. We do share the same faith. We celebrate things in the same way. The cult is the same. So how can we ever afford to have our differences overwhelm us? Is it something that we would ever allow? Thank you very much.